It's that time of year again. Time to show Dad you can put more than 10 seconds of thought into his Father's Day gift. Come on. You can definitely do better than mugs or drugstore cologne that smells like 1987. You know what Dad wants? Clothes that let him show off that dad bod he's been working on all winter. That's right. He wants something from the Perfect Jean. Look, you know how much we love the Perfect Jean here at Pero Let Me Tell You, and your dad will too. Not only do they have their classic quality jeans, shorts, and shirts, which let your dad actually move thanks to their patent-pending stretch process, which, okay, we don't really know if it's patent-pending, but it sounds totally cool. Now they even have jeans made from sustainable recycled materials because Dad always taught you never to let anything go to waste. You know what else Dad taught you? To always get the best price. So use promo code TELL20, that's TELL 20 at theperfectjean.nyc for 20% off your first order. That's right, TELL20 gets you 20% off all their items. So this Father's Day, those boring khakis and show your dad he can look and feel good in a pair of jeans thanks to the Perfect Jean. And don't forget to use code TELL20 for 20% off your order. Hell, might even make you his favorite kid.
Hey everyone, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is Season 5 of Pero Let Me Tell You. Oye,
¿Qué pasó?
oíste that we are gonna be one of the host cities for the World Cup.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to bring it up in the course of the show.
Tu y yo, ay. Well, with that,
That's a great intro.
Welcome to episode 2.
I'm going to go with 208.
208, yes. I was saying
sounds-
2008.
That's wow. No, you're 2000 late.
Yeah. You're 2008. No, you're 2000 late. I'm so 2008.
Yeah.
I've got that boom, boom,
Pow.
boom. We miss a Black Eyed Peas. But anyway,
do.
welcome everybody to episode 208 of Pero Let Me Tell You. How is everybody? Happy Friday.
Everybody's good. It's a Friday, so who's upset on a Friday?
It's a Friday, and for a lot of us, it's a long weekend.
That is true.
because Juneteenth is celebrated on Monday.
Yep.
So happy Juneteenth to our listeners.
Yep, to those
and it's Father's Day also this weekend.
Yes, happy Father's Day to you.
Me, merci. So
It's also Pim Pam Pollo on
Pim Pam
Saturday.
Pollo on Saturday. A lot going on this
there's
weekend.
a lot this weekend.
A
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
this
yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
So I hope everybody's having a good week and a good day. And we got through another week.
We did get through another week. It's just funny you say that about the Black Eyed Peas because literally today at the gym, I was with my trainer and they started playing Usher's Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were playing Yeah. And he was like, oh man, this song is great. Like, those old school jams are the best. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And so, but then he was like, yeah, but at least your music is good. Like, what have I got? And I was like, you know what? That was a nice recovery. Thank you. Thank you for.
How old is your trainer?
He's 25, going to be 26 this year.
He's a little boy.
Yes, he has the same birthday as Madonna. Couple years difference.
A couple years different. Well, but he's old enough for her to be her boyfriend.
This is true.
So-
he might be almost too old.
Right. Because he's already mid-late 20s.
Right.
So, yeah. Wow. It's so funny because, I think about when I was... Actually, yesterday was, a good reference to that because we were hanging out with some people and, you were there. And I was talking to a friend of mine who was 20... She's 25, 26.
Okay, so about the same age as my trainer.
Right. And I was saying something along the lines of I feel a lot of people that are 25, 26 don't know music from the early 90s.
That's
right?
fair.
Right.
It starts with Backstreet Boys.
But then I say something along the lines of I remember when I was in high school, I knew music, and we've said this before, from the 70s.
The 70s. We knew music from the 60s.
Yeah. And I knew
And
this
50s
music.
even. I mean,
I knew this music. So it's, I don't know that we say that all the time. I feel that maybe it's I don't know what it is, that I feel that a lot of times younger people now, they only stick to what they know, what's contemporary.
But I think it also has to do with just what we've said many times, which is everything is at our fingertips, but because of that, there's a lack of search, if you will. Like whereas growing up, first of all, the oldies station played things from the 50s, so 50s and 60s. So just by virtue of that, you would hear these things, or at least I would in my parents' car. But you also learned to appreciate things because there wasn't so much of everything, it felt like, and you kind of had to search it out. And when you found a CD, you owned that CD. You didn't have a 1 month subscription where you could access everything.
I'm telling you, I've said
we're gonna sound like
we've
old men
said this before in 208 episodes. I know we've said this before. One of the greatest feelings in my teenage years, especially my high school years. One of your high school years has many lows, but then it has highs.
Right.
One of the greatest moments of my teenage years was getting home from school and seeing the box from Columbia House. Like, ahí in the table. And my grandmother would be sitting in the table. And then, the mail, la correspondencia would be on the table. And I'm like, that's my Columbia box house. Yes! And it would have like 10 CDs.
For $1.
For a penny
sometimes.
sometimes.
A penny, yeah.
And that was like the greatest feeling, like going through those CDs. Because back then, and I'm sure this happened to you and it happened to a lot of...
it would be great because nobody ever paid for those subscriptions, if that shit was showing up on your bankruptcies.
Right. You owe Columbia House. I don't think Columbia House even like collected against people.
No,
BMG. I'm sure it happened to you, and it happened to maybe a lot of our listeners that are more or less our age or are in their 30s, that you would do these orders, right? And you would forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
You would send in the little card and that would leave.
Yeah.
The moment I put that in the postmail, that was out of my mind.
Cuando llega, llegó.
So then, I don't know, 3-4 weeks later, a month later, right? Like, it would be, you would get home from school and it would be like, oh my God. I remember opening it, and it was kind of like when in movies or shows they open a treasure box at like the glow and the little music. It was sort of like that. And then looking through the CDs and opening them all up.
Because again, you'd forgotten what the hell was coming.
Pictures and all that, and being like, oh my God, what am I going to play first? Like, that was the best feeling. That was the greatest thing.
It was.
And then I always felt Columbia House was better because Columbia House, when you would get that darn, featured selection of the month that you never canceled, Columbia House had the regular UPC.
Oh, that's true. So you could
go return it at the store and be like, yeah, I got this for my birthday.
Yeah, that's how I wound up with an Ana Gabriel CD.
But BMG used to say it didn't have a code.
It was like not for resale or whatever.
Manufactured by BMG Ltd USA. Not for resale. And I'll be like, stupid damn BMG. It.
And even worse, you couldn't even take it to the used CDs.
Right.
After the fact.
Right. But I had both. I had Columbia House and BMG.
Oh, you had both?
Yeah, well, of course I had both. And then how do you think I ended up with over 2,000 CDs?
I don't question how things happen.
Right. That was that's one of those things that I say this all the time, and it's not to sound like a grumpy old man, things were better in my day. In my day, things were better. Yes, of course. Things are technology is a game changer.
Right.
But I do think there are certain things that we've
lost an appreciation for.
No, but specifically to our age group that we had that, I don't think it's better now. I don't think that digital music is better than a tangible piece of music. The
only benefit with digital music is, look, it's the portability, obviously. Yeah. But you know what? We also had that when we were building our little playlists, to upload to our iPhones.
I got in, like many people, I got an iPod in 2003. No, I don't know if I did it around you. Importing my music library from my CDs, up to the cloud so I could use them on iTunes. That took me a year, years.
Did you have to take days off from work?
That's
a full-time job.
Yes, that took me a while, right? But again, having that CD and looking at the lyrics and looking at the pictures, I remember I'd be so disappointed when I would buy a CD and then it had no pictures inside. It was the cover and the back and nothing else. That was the worst. That was the worst.
Now I'm a little sad.
Do you remember what CD you and I went to get together?
Well,
no, but I remember when...
There's a lot of CDs you and I got together.
No, but I remember one in specific that you and I went to get together. We went to the Tracks in Town and Country.
The Tracks or the Blockbuster Video?
No, the Tracks in Town and Country.
I don't remember.
Paula Abdul, Head Over Heels.
Oh, I still have it.
I still have it too. I haven't gotten a single. I have not gotten rid of not a single of my CDs, and I never will. That thing is going with me to the retirement home. Like I'm never getting rid of my CDs.
You're gonna be like the Egyptian pharaohs, bury them with.
And
you.
it's funny because not too long ago, my mom's like, "I pero pa que tú quieres?" And I'm like, "Hello, like who are you speaking to?" Like
I don't even understand the question, lady. Like I'm gonna need you to calm down.
Yeah, and you know what I love looking back at like singles. And reading the back and saying, I still love this. Taken from the forthcoming LP.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Also, no longer B-sides.
No longer B-sides.
That just doesn't exist, even as a concept.
B-side. This is a song about summertime.
How else would we have ever learned about Autumn Goodbye?
And this feeling goes on.
Exactly.
And this feeling. Well, you got to be a Janet Jackson fan to know that one. That was the best. Y como te digo, nobody can convince me that yes, there are certain advantages to digital music. Of course. Like I'm in my car and I press a button and I'm like, play whatever song comes out of my head.
And it's usually there.
And it is there.
Yeah.
It is there. Even like European tracks.
Yeah, Spotify's gotten much better about that too.
You know what I actually played the other day? Because in my car, in the Tesla, and I'm not doing to name drop Tesla. I'm just
but
doing
that's
it.
The car.
I'm just doing it because Tesla, because it's all techie. I have a lot of different options.
That's right.
So I have Spotify.
Okay.
I have my music library, and then I have like Tesla's version of like Spotify and Pandora.
Okay, like their own
platform. They have their own streaming
platform
network, right? So I was like, play a Night and Day by Billie Piper.
It had it?
Not only did it have it, but it had like three versions of it. Yeah.
The single version?
The day. I love the night.
Yes, because the single version is different than the album version.
It had all of them. It even had a remix, like a Tiesto remix.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's probably from her greatest hits.
So I was like, man. And it was like really random. It was like really, well, wouldn't it be random?
Remember when I thought Billie Piper had something against me?
Why?
Because every time that I would go to a Comic-Con that she was supposed to go to, she would cancel. I wasn't going to see her, but I felt like, she's always canceling on all the Comic-Cons.
You know that Billie Piper, I don't know, to our listeners who are like, who the fuck is Billie Piper? So Billie Piper, they're like, who is Billie Piper? So Billie Piper was this like pop, like
the British answer to Britney Spears, essentially. I mean, it's the closest analog that.
Okay, so in the late '90s, when all these like blonde
pop girls
came out in England, in the UK, and in Europe, they kind of their version was Billie Piper, and
who at the time had no last name.
It was just Billie.
She was just Billie at first, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she's one of those people that like I really like her.
Yeah.
I like her. Her song.
Have you seen her acting?
Well, I'm going with that.
Okay.
I like her. Like,
okay.
Her songs were whatever
they're pop.
little pop
They're
songs
fun,
from that time. They weren't anything special. But I always thought she was really pretty because she was like 16, 17 when she came out.
Yeah.
But I thought she was really pretty and cute, and I really liked her. But again, she's one of those people that, like, for me at least, I like her, and anything she does, I'm gonna look
check
at
it out. Yeah.
So that's how I got into Doctor Who. Because think about it, is Doctor Who really the type of show I would watch?
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, Doctor Who's
not even a little bit.
It's not in my trajectory.
Nope.
But I really got into Doctor Who.
But you were all about
and
Rose.
I freaking want a TARDIS. Like, I have a TARDIS in my office, like a little TARDIS, right? Because I freaking and then once she put me
right.
Because then I started learning about Doctor Who, and then the thought that there's different doctors, like that kind of blew my mind.
Right.
And Doctor Who, obviously, it's a great show.
Yeah.
That's why it's been around for
It's
about
like 40 years. Yeah.
500 years.
Right.
But I loved her, and then I freaking started watching Confessions of a Call Girl.
That was so good.
Right, and then I started watching Pennywise.
Penny Dreadful.
Yes, Penny Dreadful, which again, that's kind of not.
It's not a you thing.
Yeah,
no.
But I freaking love Billie Piper. So for those of you who still don't know who Billie Piper is, look up Billie. Google
Did you
Billie
see
Piper.
her last show? I think it was on. Is it on Netflix or Amazon? I don't know where the hell it was.
I'm sure there's no other American podcast talking about
Billie Piper. Yeah.
This week.
Definitely not one out of Miami, if nothing else.
That is your learn
Yes.
section of the day.
Yes.
So-
Go seek out the Billie Piper of it all.
So, bueno, back to what we were talking about when we first opened. So, we are going to be one of the host cities for 2026.
16 cities across 3 countries.
Well-
I don't understand the logistics of it.
Well, it's funny because, to quote Billy Corbin, Mayor Postalita.
I swear to God, I thought you were going to say to quote Billie Piper. But I was like,
No, another Billy. To quote Billy Corbin, Mayor Postalita
Yeah.
today on Twitter was like, "Oh, a dream has come true for Miami for our culture, blah blah blah," and it made it sound like if the Olympics were coming to Miami, right?
Right.
And it's like, hold on,
World Cup is a big deal.
it is a big deal, but it sounded like we were awarded the World Cup, and as I tell people. You have to remember that the World Cup, unlike the Olympics, which is awarded to a city, the World Cup is awarded to a country.
Right.
Right? So that's why they have different venues throughout whatever country it is. It's not for a city. Though here it was it's a trifecta. It's Canada, the
I know.
US.
They're like, just North America.
Just here you go.
Just take
figure it out.
Figure it out. But it seems like a logistical nightmare. I'm not going to lie.
Well, it is and it isn't.
Just with travel. I'm
well,
thinking of,
but it is and it isn't because the World Cup is unlike the Olympics that
well, there's multiple games all at the same time.
right, and the Olympics, it's kind of like there's an Olympic Village, so then everything stems from there.
It's not centralized, but I thought that most of the World Cups, even though it's awarded to a country, I always feel like it's consolidated into like maybe a handful of cities in a specific country. Because 16 seems like a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if 16 is the most, but I know I know that in the past it was,
It's not just like in Rio
Right.
or just in Athens
right. Or in Paris.
Right, or a place is actually taking place. Yes,
I'm
I'm just naming.
Go, go, go.
I hope they get a good person to do the theme.
Has there really been a famous? Well, no, that's not true. I was saying Shakira. Duh.
Yeah. Black Eyed Peas did one too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they
Tony
did it.
Braxton did one.
That's true. So did Anastasia.
Right. Those didn't go anywhere.
No.
But I mean, Ricky Martin's was like another level
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And then Shakira's as well.
Yeah.
But Ricky, I mean, I like
Ricky's
Shakira's and I love Shakira, but La Copa de la Vida is
Ricky's
a
is
great song.
iconic.
Yeah, but it's a great song.
Yeah. It's a great song, but it's also cemented in the iconography of music by the Grammy
Right.
performance.
And then also like Ricky Martin's The Cup of Life was also kind of at a moment where he was like his star power was like already on the way up.
Right, it was
So-
the trajectory.
Right, so
Yeah.
it was like at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Because that song didn't make him a superstar, but he was like on his way already to being a superstar from
Yeah.
like Maria and all that a couple of
Right,
years
right.
before. So, well, I mean, I imagine here will be a Hard Rock Stadium, a Joe Robbie Stadium.
Robbie.
I
I just hope that the theme's not by Halsey.
don't think so because it's kind of it has to be celebratory.
That's true.
I just hired the
okay, so
Estefans.
then it's not going to be Lana Del Rey.
Hire the Estefans.
Can you imagine?
They'll come up with something,
Can you imagine that World Cup song by Lana Del Rey?
Oh. I could just imagine.
Hit the ball.
No. It'll be like soccer, but really it's football. These things get me so confused. But at the World Cup, we choose a winner. Oh,
This is great.
Let's go out to dinner and talk about your bets because I bet that my best is not second yet.
This is kind of wonderful. And the saddest part is I can almost see her being like, well, I've got the first stanza done. Like, thank you, Darian Borges.
Soccer, but in the rest of the world is football.
Come mierda. Oh, God, that's why I love you.
You don't like Lana Del Rey, right?
I think she's talented, but I can't listen to an album.
There's a handful of songs of hers that I like.
But they all sound the same.
Okay, it's not that they all sound the same, but they do sound the same, but they don't sound the same. Like they don't sound the same musically.
Is this
Okay?
is
They
this
don't
a
sound,
riddle?
They don't sound the same musically, but thematically they're all the same.
Right. They're all just here.
Right. So you're just like tienes el mundo arriba. Like,
Listen, if your music can cause Fiona Apple to ask you to lighten up,
Yeah.
then I think it's a little much.
No, Fiona Apple is like freaking
Fiona Apple's Britney Spears next
yeah,
to Lana
next
Del
to
Rey.
Lana Del Rey, yeah. Oh yeah, going back to which I wanted to bring this up, and I was going to when we were talking about Columbia House in the 90s and all that. Did you see what finally died this week? Internet Explorer.
I didn't even know it was still around.
It was 1995 through 2022. It officially went offline this week.
Aw.
And I still have it on my computer.
Of course you do.
In fact, it's well, no, because this is a Chromecast. But on my computer,
Not this one.
On my computer, I still have the icon.
The other one.
It gives me the fuzzies. It's Internet Explorer.
Wow. And what was the decision to?
Well, because the thing is that with Windows product, it's a Windows product.
Right.
Windows had come out with a different browser years ago.
Yeah.
Called Microsoft Edge.
Yeah.
So Windows products eventually have to stop support of it.
Okay.
So they did. I think it's funny that Internet Explorer got so much hate in the for some time.
Yeah.
But for a while, it was that or Netscape Navigator.
Oh man, now there's something that's no longer around.
There's something you hadn't
Wow.
thought about in a while.
Criminy, I have not thought about Netscape.
Netscape
Maya.
Navigator, yeah. Remember that? Do you remember what their little icon symbol was?
Wait, Netscape. The N, right?
It was a light. Yes, but it was a lighthouse.
Oh, okay.
And then when you would search the lighthouse,
Would the light would go around? Yeah.
do you remember? Because I did when I thought the internet was AOL.
I don't know if I just genuinely don't remember if I thought.
I got AOL in 1994.
Floppy or CD?
Floppy. Yeah, when it was,
100 free hours.
100 free. I remember that it was like 5 hours, and then
Yeah.
I remember there was a point that it went up to like 1,000 hours.
It was like, just use it.
That I was like, "Ahorita they're gonna pay me to use AOL." Like it just got out of control at a certain point, right? But I remember that when you would log on AOL, you got mail. That the screen would pop out with different things like food, culture.
Yeah, it was like a
music.
homepage.
It was a
Right. It was a
homepage,
homepage,
right?
yeah.
I thought that was the internet. I didn't realize
okay.
for a minute that AOL had a built-in browser where you could put www.whateverpage.com
And set that as your.
and go to the internet. I thought, okay, I mean, I was like 16 and it was like the beginning of the internet.
No. I didn't know that's what you meant, is what I'm saying. Oh, you thought that literally
that
was
was
the internet.
Right. Because AOL had everything that
a
you could do on
monopoly.
the internet.
I mean,
you could look up stuff. It had like an encyclopedia section. You could
had a
instant
search bar.
message. I mean, yes, instant messaging. That was like,
Yes, that aim.
yeah, the little running man.
Oh,
I still have my AOL address.
do you?
Yeah, dborges19@AOL.com.
I mean, I'm sure mine is out there. I just don't.
I still have my that to me is that is like my parents' phone number. That is the essence of who I am.
I have told you why your parents can never get rid of their phone number.
Because it's the only one you know.
It is the only other phone number I know that if something, God forbid, happens and my parents don't pick up, your parents are going to have to step in.
My parents, like a year or two ago, they were like, "Oh, we don't need the landline,
Right.
blah 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 blah." We get all the calls from my dad's number, and I'm like, "Well, let me tell you something. You're not getting rid of that landline. If you want, I'll pay for it. But we are not getting rid of the
Until this house is demolished.
Is not up for discussion, right? I'm going to El Mahaya with that number, right? Because I'm keeping that number. Eventually, that number is going to go to me.
You're going to inherit that
put,
number?
I'm going to inherit. Oh, you bet I
Put
am.
it in the will?
Well, I already have inherited the number.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because my parents decided to get rid of the landline.
Right.
And I said, you know what, Mom, I'll get you a cell phone.
Right.
And then since I've had T-Mobile for about 50 years, like my plan doesn't even exist in T-Mobile anymore.
You were the second customer. The first was Catherine
I
Zeta-Jones.
could literally add on a line for like 10 cents.
Like,
right?
we should all just be on your plan at this point.
Yeah. I've told you that whenever I call T-Mobile and I speak to a rep, they're like, give me a minute, because they don't know how to navigate through my plan because my plan doesn't exist anymore.
We should hold like a contest where somebody can win to be on your plan.
Yeah, and then the problem is because now they have like a wide data, like all the all the phones have unlimited data, but then it's higher.
Yeah.
It's more expensive because everybody has unlimited data, and for me that doesn't work because my father's on my plan. He doesn't need unlimited data. My mom is on my plan. She doesn't need unlimited data. My office is on my plan. They don't need unlimited data. So it's like, that doesn't work out for me. But it always, like, people are like, hold on, Mr. Borges.
There's like 12 managers looking at
your... like, yeah, they don't understand the logistics of my account. But anyway, I ported the number onto my account. So their old landline, so it is mine.
So it is now yours.
It is mine. So I'm never getting rid of that number. So yes, we will bail you out.
Okay, good. That's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all you never know. You have to have a contingency plan.
Oye, oíste. The things of the week. No surprise here. Like, I don't know how it came out. People are talking about it this week. Que Kim Kardashian rompió el vestido de Marilyn.
Arruinó el pobre vestido de la
Okay, here's the
Jean.
one question that I have.
Although Ripley's now is saying that it wasn't. That the dress was already had some wear and tear.
Right. Here's my question. Why does Ripley's own that dress?
I mean, well, believe it or not, they bought it.
Really?
I had to. Sorry.
Really? I thought it was in Maryland's estate.
Sorry. I honestly, I don't even know
because
her estate.
Okay, the reason is
that seems like something from the Smithsonian, not Ripley's.
Absolutely, that seems like something for the Smithsonian. Yeah. Clearly they bought it whenever it was at auction. But the reason I say that is because that's not the brand.
That's not their brand. Yeah.
For Ripley's. I mean, if it would have been the bones of the Elephant Man, maybe.
The bones of Marilyn Monroe. Fine.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But not the dress. Like,
yeah, that doesn't seem on. You're right. That doesn't seem on brand for
with
them.
Ripley's.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't know. I didn't know they owned
that
dress. I thought that dress was owned by like an institution or something.
I thought it was from a museum.
Right. So when now the dress came around with Kim Kardashian, I was like, Ripley's is the one who owns that dress. Like, okay. Ahorita you would have told me that Barman and Bailey Brothers owns the dress. Like,
Bueno, it's like that guy. What's this guy that owns the Weather Channel? Byron Douglas. Byron Allen. He owns the Weather Channel. Who knew?
You know that. And it's not hating on Kim Kardashian. And again, they were the ones who decided to give her the dress. So
right. They could have said no.
They could have said no. But I didn't realize that she was the one who had requested to wear the dress. And like, I don't know. I was like, It's like, why would you think that?
Yeah. What makes you deserving?
Yeah, of that dress.
Like, what makes you that level of icon,
right?
Legend, yeah. It's presumptuous.
I was like,
at best.
Because I would understand if like they wanted her or somebody who's like very high profile to wear the dress. Not that dress needs any amount of publicity.
Yeah.
But then I read that she was the one who had requested it.
Right.
And whatever.
Yeah, I just don't think they should have said yes. They should have just said no. I mean, again, like you said, it's not like that dress is wanting for publicity.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, I don't know about textiles and fabric, but just by the naked eye, you can tell that's a very delicate garment,
You don't ruin a Bob Mackie, damn it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I told you the other day, like, is Bob Mackie 100?
I think Bob Mackie's immortal at this point.
Because, like... I mean, I don't know anything. I know that Bob Mackie does Cher's stuff. But
yes.
But I didn't know that Bob Mackie had done that dress 60 years ago. So I'm like...
He designed it. Yeah.
How old is Bob Mackie? Like,
Bob Mackie's only 83.
Mira, I would have thought he was older.
But he probably started working in fashion like at 19. You know what I mean? So that's why he's been around so long.
And clearly when he was dressing Cher
was like in her 20s and he was maybe in her 30s.
Right, but he was a contemporary, like, I guess.
He was, yeah.
I don't know, because I guess Cher is what made Bob Mackie a name, but I guess that since we're on the other side of it,
right,
we already knew Bob Mackie as a name,
right.
So we assume that like in the late 60s and 70s when
he was
Cher
already Bob Mackie,
he was already Bob Mackie,
right. Yeah, you're right. We're on the other side of his fame.
Yeah, and here we are talking about Billy and Bob Mackie.
How many more B people can we talk about today? So. Billy Corbin, we brought up the being.
So. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We know things can feel overwhelming, from jobs to family to relationships, even finances. And despite the stigma from Hispanic families about airing our dirty laundry, we can all use someone to talk to during those moments of stress. Well, we're here to remind you that there's no shame in admitting that you need to speak with someone to work towards improving mental well-being. That's where BetterHelp comes in to, well, help. A customized online therapy provider, they offer therapy options on your time, whether it's via phone, video, text, or even live chat sessions with a therapist. BetterHelp's customized approach matches you with a therapist in under 48 hours, based on what you're experiencing to help you better understand yourself. And as a special offer for Pero Let Me Tell You listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/pero. It's already more affordable than in-person therapy, and now you can save on your first month. Everyone deserves to be happy, and BetterHelp has helped millions take their first step on that path. That's betterhelp.com/pero. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast episode. Let me tell you. Yeah, whatever.
So earlier, you mentioned Juneteenth.
Yes.
And so, Juneteenth is on June 19th, for those who don't know. And it commemorates, it's one of those weird ones, because I don't want to use the word celebrate, because it's kind of,
commemorates is the perfect
commemorates is the right word for it. It commemorates basically when the last outpost that had slavery, I want to say it was in Galveston, Texas, but I could be wrong, was notified that slavery had ended. And so it was, basically once slavery ended across, the United States, at least officially. I am going to talk about the Walmart ice cream. So, now it's a national holiday. It's been, officially recognized as such, rightfully so. And, as we've spoken here, a lot of times, we've spoken about this actually with regard to pride. When things become more recognized and more accepted and more part of, the national lexicon and acceptance, there's a tendency to commercialize it for all the good and the bad that comes with it, right? And like we said, with the case of pride, you can make the argument it's too commercial and that's not what it was about and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it's like, yes, but there's an intrinsic visibility and acceptance to putting it out there, right? Now, with regard to Juneteenth, I will say, I have seen on social media several black people, kind of saying that is their version of July 4th. Mm-hmm. That's because that is when they receive their independence, right? As a community, as a people. And what we've seen since then is, I guess, similar to, and this is going to sound borderline inappropriate, but go with me, kids. Similar to how we have, like Kwanzaa decorations and, paper plates for celebrations and things like that. They've started doing the same thing for Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. So there's, you can go and get your Juneteenth paper plates and cups and for your barbecue or what have you. But Walmart decided they were going to take it a step further. Walmart, which it's since been pulled, created a celebration edition Juneteenth ice cream.
Yes. And
the container is, it's the red, yellow, and green colors that tend to be associated with, African related iconography. And it was a swirled red velvet and cheesecake flavored ice cream. And of course,
that sounds good, though.
It sounds incredible. But what makes that Juneteenth?
Right.
I mean, well, I guess we should be thankful that they didn't make it watermelon flavored, because that's pretty much, I wouldn't surprise me at all. But there's a line, right? Like, I think, I almost think that pride is the perfect analogy to use here, because if they were to release a pride ice cream, right, all the colors and different flavor, a rainbow sherbet, right.
In all honesty, Dippin' Dots already has that.
Oh, okay.
So they're ahead of the curve.
Right. But it's different, right? I think with, an event or a date, like Juneteenth, it's not about like, hey, let's make an ice cream flavor for it.
Well, because
it just seems, it's not even tone deaf. It's just bizarre.
Because I think that what you said is the perfect description of it. Juneteenth should be a commemoration and a remembrance.
Like MLK.
Right, not a celebration.
Right.
Right?
Now, if you wish to commemorate it by having a family get together and
right,
all that,
but
of
it's
course.
not it. You know, it was the end of quite possibly the darkest chapter.
Right.
No, quite possibly no. Of
America's
of the,
original sin.
Of the darkest chapter of our country, something that we still struggle with today, and everything that came along with that, with slavery, and. It shouldn't be like, oh yeah, now it's a national holiday. Sacking
Juneteenth party.
Yes, Juneteenth party.
Yeah, take out the Juneteenth
now
tree.
Everything is Juneteenth. You
Right,
know, like,
right. Put up the wreath.
Whatever
you know,
color
yeah.
scheme. You know, we have Juneteenth cookies and Juneteenth. Right? Like it's a commemoration and a remembrance, not like. Because again, yes, it is obviously it's a very positive thing that it's now a federal holiday, but it's commemorating the end of the worst thing that has happened to our country.
Right.
So you have to be very careful how you proceed with that
from a business.
And I think that as a corporation, I would follow. I wouldn't lead.
Right.
Because yes, even if you're in the main interest is making money. This is only the second year that this was a national
they were
holiday.
quick.
So I think that you need to see how members of the African American community, the ones that should be spearheading this, right, to see where this goes. Right, then just immediately, like the ink isn't dry yet on the proclamation last year that President Biden signed, and now
we got ice cream.
We got ice cream. We're making a whole line of things.
Right.
You need to see how members of the community that this most affected, how they choose to recognize it, and within due time, go from there. And that's something that you have to follow.
Right.
I think it's a very different situation from Pride because, as again, you said it very well. Pride is the opposite. It's about, you know, and we had
obviously we got there through struggles.
We had that discussion
a
couple of weeks ago about commercialization, right? Which is a very, very fair argument, but it's about visibility. It's about seeing that. For so long, you felt invisible in the closet, like you had to hide your true self. And now these huge conglomerates, these huge corporations are recognizing you.
For whatever reason.
Even if it's to make money. Right?
But the fact that they recognize you as a potential consumer is still a step in the right direction.
But that's a completely different situation than this. Right? So, yeah, I actually had seen that several weeks ago, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's just...
And I think that
the
packaging was so, like, stereotypical in, like, every... Like, again, trope that
it was almost like, oh, here's quote-unquote Mother Africa motif,
like,
you know?
Like, you don't know... Again, this is, like, a very new holiday. Long overdue, but a very new holiday. So you don't know yet what this is going to look like, right? You know, because, like, this year, there's a lot of different events going on this weekend with that. So you don't know yet how this is going to turn into how... it's celebrated, right? So as a corporation, as I said, you need to simmer down and follow.
Yeah, this to me, and again, I don't know this to be true or not, but I'm going to say from my marketing, background, this seems to me a little bit that it could be something that, we've always said, which is you've got a room full of people who are not the target making decisions on how to reach a particular consumer base, be it, a multicultural, be it Hispanic, African American, Asian, and they're just kind of cool. We'll create this new flavor and we'll slap, a logo on it. It's, like I always say, it's like when you're buying, multicultural media, guys, you can't just buy Univision and Telemundo and BET and be like, done. Like it's, there's more to it, and this to me just doesn't. It doesn't. I could be wrong. It could have been a room full of minorities who came up with this, but I would feel very strongly that was not the case.
That probably wasn't.
Just based on my personal experiences in the realm of marketing,
it probably wasn't. But so they pulled it.
Yeah, it's been pulled. I mean, honestly, I had this one on the docket for a while to talk about, but I was waiting until we got into June so that I could, bring it up during a relevant.
Speaking of, I mean, that was rightfully canceled.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of,
Although, again, they should bring it back just as a flavor.
yeah.
It's so good.
Speaking of another form of canceling. So, listeners, maybe you heard about this, maybe you didn't, but Lizzo had a bad week.
Lizzo. And,
Say what happened to Lizzo.
Lizzo is just a ball of positivity and light. I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, I don't think anybody's ever looked at Lizzo and been like, ay, que amarga. She's the anti-Lana Del Rey.
She should do the World Cup.
She should do the World Cup. Yes, and she could play her little flute.
Sasha Fierce.
Yes, or maybe, I know it's not in the same country as it, but maybe she could bring out that Vuvuzela thing that they had at the World Cup, that thing that people were playing, like.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Somebody out there who's listening knows exactly what I'm talking about, even though I'm explaining it horribly. Anyway, so I don't know the name of the song right now. But Girls, okay. So Lizzo has a song called Girls, and as usual, her song is about, positivity and uplifting and, being just happy. But in the song, she uses the word spaz, S-P-A-Z. And she got flack for it because I think it's been released as a single, which is probably why people.
But
I'm saying but it's a single now, right? It's her latest single. That's why people are.
She got a monsoon tidal wave category 5 of hate online.
But it must be because it's a single, because her album's been out for a while.
I don't know.
Well, because apparently the word spaz is considered a, how do I put this, a derogatory term for people who have like certain mental challenges. I don't know. I'm pulling blanks right now. I'm literally looking at you and I'm like, I don't know where I'm going with this.
I don't know if it's people that have like different issues with body movement and body control.
Like, for instance, maybe someone with Tourette's, let's say, something along those lines.
It's certainly associated with some type of impairment or disability.
Right, correct. And apparently, spaz is a slur, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. I had never heard that before.
I had no clue.
Now, as we have said many times before, like when we talked about, the charity that was giving, the shoes to people who only have one foot and, things like that. We understand that there are certain blind spots we have because, we don't experience it. We're not in a wheelchair. We don't have, physical, challenges and things like that. So obviously we're not the forefront of that, right? But I had just never heard of it. And I feel like at this point in 2022, I feel like somebody would have brought it up.
Yeah, I never heard of it either. Well, but here's the thing. It doesn't matter if we hadn't heard about it. I think that broadly, most people don't know the connection to that.
There's a lot of words that people just... Yeah.
Right, they don't know the connection. It's okay. If this moment that she uses this should be a teaching moment.
Right.
That people that maybe are...
And she handled it perfectly.
People that are on the forefront of, movements for people with disabilities and those type of issues. It should be a learning moment and say, hey, Lizzo, that word is offensive for these reasons. Right? Because this really is a word or a term or a slang that most people, and again, I don't know everything, but I take pride at that. Like, I know a lot.
You're aware,
and I try to be as aware as I can. Right. I had never been on my radar ever. You tell me like, hey, it's this and this and this and this and this, and this is why it's offensive to so many people, and it's ableist. I'll be like, okay, I get it. Like I told you this the other day. A word that I used to use, like many people used to use until somebody told me, hey, this is what this means, was the word gypped. Right? When somebody's trying to like take money from you or get you to do a bad G or con you, right? You say, oh God, I just got gypped. Yeah. I had never put any thought into
The
that
origin.
word, right? Not that that's an excuse,
But-
right? I had never ever thought, and then one day somebody told me, hey, that can be derogatory because that gyp comes from gypsy.
Right.
And I said, that is true. Do better. If
Right.
you know better, Maya Angelou. If you know better, do better. So I've refrained from ever using that, right? Because somebody told me, hey, this is what that means.
They
This-
called it out the right way.
This should be a learning moment,
right.
right? Hey, this word, this term, for us, it's slang. I realize that a lot of people don't know this, right? This is what this means. This is why it's offensive, right? And yes, Lizzo handled it perfectly fine.
Yeah,
right?
because like most people, she's like,
Right. But the shitstorm that she got to like cancel Lizzo, and it's like, wow.
Again, as we've said many times, so you want us to learn, but you don't want us to learn.
No, and
you
know
want
what
us
I
to
think,
already
You know
know.
what I think is very telling in terms of the case of Lizzo is that Lizzo has built her fame and her image on positivity, inclusivity of being, a big, black girl who plays the flute, who wasn't banned, and look at how
sexy I am,
sexy and like
yeah,
all positivity and and all that, and like I've told you a million times, I don't care so much for Lizzo's music, but you can't deny the energy and that you just like look at her in awe, like look
she's
at her
the definition of good vibes only.
Yeah, look at her go. Good for her, right? So you're talking about somebody that like has been at the forefront of that, but nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to get it right 100%, and you're going to cancel that person.
Again, we all have blind spots,
right?
Which for all I know, that might be a derogatory phrase now too.
It probably is. It probably is. But yeah, I just think that I don't know when this is going to stop or if it's ever going to stop. It's so destructive. It's so annoying because then the problem is that, for example, this is a good example of that case of this. There's so many people that are in either the camp of canceling her or in the camp of like, oh, you can't say anything nowadays because everything gets canceled. Then you lose the real message here, which is, hey, this is why this word can be offensive to some people.
Right. Take it as you...
Right.
Here's your lesson.
You lose the opportunity of maybe learning...
Right.
about the context of that word and what it means.
Because you're essentially dándole la razón to the people who say you can't say anything anymore, because the way that it's approached tends to be, you're a horrible human being. How could you never, ever know everything in the world?
Right.
Well, I'm sorry. You know what? We're all learning. And you could live 100 years and not know everything.
When I read this the other day, when I heard about this, I forgot where I was. It was Twitter.
The cesspool of humanity.
Yes. And there was a lady there was actually several parents who were saying, look, as a kid with like a ADHD and a kid that has this and this disorder, I had never heard of that, and I'm not offended if people use that around my kids.
The word
people,
spaz?
Yes.
Okay.
And people were like, oh, that's not your decision to make, it's your children. And then these were like several like parents, and they're like, on behalf of my underage children and being that I'm at the forefront and I am the advocate for my son, for my son or daughter,
I do speak for them.
Yeah, I actually do speak for them. And I was like, you go, Mom.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
And yet, the reality is, as we've said many times before, this is just a vocal minority. If you really were to talk, like to take it into the microcosm of the world's population, it's 1% of 1% of 1% who are just making a big stink about things in an unproductive way.
Yeah.
And again, it's a learning moment, not a castigating moment. Now, if you tell Lizzo this and she's apologetic as she has been, and I'm going to learn it, I'm going to change the lyrics, but then she writes 12 more songs with the same word. Well, at that point, okay, now we're talking about a different story.
Yeah. But that wouldn't be Lizzo anymore.
No, that's not Lizzo.
That would be, I don't know, the Sex Pistols back in the day.
Oh, I started watching that Hulu limited series about them.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I love Danny Boyle. Like, I think he's just a great filmmaker, and I love the fact that it looks like it's from the time. Because it was filmed in that old...
I probably will watch that because I don't don't listen to the Sex Pistols music, but like many people, Sid Vicious and
Sid and Nancy.
I find it.
But I didn't know that like Chrissy Hynde was part of that whole world, and so was Vivienne Westwood,
the designer.
Yeah, she was dating one of them when she opened
Chrissy
her first
Hynde,
boutique.
I could see.
Right, but I didn't know.
Right.
You know,
is it better than Pam and Tommy?
Very different. I loved Pam and Tommy. It was fun. It was hyper realistic. I think esta muchacha did an incredible job. Honestly, like, man, they turned her into Pam Anderson.
I haven't seen it.
I enjoyed it. I think it's very sympathetic, specifically towards her, in a way that I think, we talked about this before. We're kind of in that quote unquote reckoning era now with the Pam Anderson and the sex tape, Janet Jackson and Nipplegate, Britney and everything. Like we're in that time period now where with hindsight everybody's looking back and saying, oh, we treated them badly.
Yeah.
We should have known it was happening at the time and made a conscious effort not to do
because
those
it was
things.
all about the scandal.
But it was about the scandals. And it was especially with Pam and Tommy, it was the beginnings of the internet.
Yeah.
So the fact that you could have this
that's like
at your fingertips.
I didn't realize that the first thing that ever really went viral was Monica Lewinsky.
Really?
Yeah, because Monica Lewinsky, that was in 98. America Online, AOL, and your Netscape Navigator and your Internet Explorer was in its infancy.
Huh.
And that was like that's considered the first news story that went viral.
Oh, okay.
That, for what viral would have been at the
time.
At the
Okay,
time,
okay,
right?
okay.
Because, yes, at that time, millions of people had internet access, but it wasn't like now that it's on your finger. It's literally in your fingertips, like, with your phone.
If you see something 10 minutes after it's posted, that's too late.
Right. But most people found out about it, or most people started reading on it online.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Huh. And it's like one of the first recognized cases of cyberbullying.
That I believe, yeah.
That was really messed up. Did you
watch that?
I did because you know what? Well, we're going to talk about Monica Lewinsky. But let me tell you, I can really sit here and tell you that even then, I mean, we were very young.
I felt bad for her.
We were 20. I recognized that she was the victim. And everybody... I
don't know if I recognized that, but I felt bad for her.
No, I did. I recognized because when that happened, we were like 18, 19, right?
Was it? I thought we were younger.
That happened... Well, that blew up in 1998.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
We were like 18, 19. She was like 23. She was only a few years older than us.
Yeah, we could have gone to school with her.
She was only a few years older than us. And I remember thinking...
Look, at that age, 23 is so much older, right?
Right, but yes, it is older. But I remember thinking, like, this girl is only a few years older than us, and, like, her life is being ruined for, like, one bad decision.
Right.
And it was a bad decision. And not
that
doesn't
make
not
that
at 23 she shouldn't have any accountability for it.
Right.
You're right. But
we all make bad decisions in life.
But I mean, this was such a
Nobody's
her life was
public.
ruined because of this. And people can say whatever they want, that, oh yes, but she got these opportunities out of it, and she worked with this company and she got this endorsement and all that. Yes. But Monica Lewinsky till her dying day will be known as the girl
who had the affair with
Clinton and the dress, which was then immortalized on a Beyonce song.
This is true.
He Monica Lewinsky'd all over my dress, all over my gown.
Yeah, she's basically a meme before memes were a thing.
Right. So and imagine, and if, of course, with Me Too, the Me Too movement, you want to talk about that power dynamic, like
kind of unbalanced.
The president of the United States and a 22, 23-year-old intern.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Right? And that at 22, 23, a bad decision, a bad situation defined her entire life. Right? Can you imagine if
globally,
if at 22, 23, whatever stupid decisions you made or situations that you were, if not forced, thrown into,
that you find yourself in,
right, that you be judged for the rest of your life on that?
Again, globally.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about, she was judged on that decision for the rest of her life by her immediate circle.
And she will never be taken seriously.
No.
And
she can't do anything in
yeah,
her life.
and,
I mean, really.
And like I remember being when that was happening, thinking like, this is wrong. Like this is wrong. Like this is wrong that people are like
And she was a pawn.
shitting on her, and not on him, like to the extent that it should have been, because he was like, oh, did the president have an affair? Did he lie? But people were calling her a slut, and all that,
right.
and it's like it was just totally unfair.
Yeah.
Totally unfair. Yeah, she's considered the first like real case of cyberbullying. And how that all went down, because that all really happened because of Linda Tripp.
That's what I'm saying. She was used.
Yeah.
She was basically a pawn at the end of the day. So it's not just that she made a mistake. It's that then people exploited her mistake.
Yeah, and then that led to the impeachment of Bill Clinton, and then, oh my God, all this drama, and it's like, oh,
yes. And then Ryan Murphy.
Why?
He's the one that did the impeachment series on FX.
I was like, wait, what? Was he an intern in the White House? Did
yes,
you know when this happened?
Yes, he was un contemporáneo of Lewinsky.
Yeah. The many faces of Ryan Murphy.
Yes.
That is one sit down interview I would love to have. How is it that the man that does American Horror Story also did Glee?
And Nip Tuck and Scream Queens. Yeah, he's got a lot of diverse things going on.
That would be an understatement.
Mr. Murphy.
That would be an understatement. So, anyway. ¿Tienes algo más?
Let me see what I got here. I don't know that I necessarily have anything else. I mean, it's been a light week for me anyway.
Qué calor hay.
I took a walk the other day to get my hair cut. It was so hot. When I got back, I was sufocado.
Ole,
That was so focado. I feel like Jose was like, you need to drink some water.
Where I haven't gone in a while?
Where?
To a really good Tacky King's.
Okay, yeah, they don't do that.
I know, but every now and then one will pop up.
But they don't. It's not the same as when we were kids, like because now quinces are not the quote unquote tacky quinces that we used to go to.
Right. Well, I feel had a resurgence with Sweet 16 on MTV.
Right, but that was next level.
Yeah, that was trying to I was gonna say that was trying to outdo each other, but then again, the quinces
was all about outdoing each other
yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah.
Did you hear the Opaloca flea market is closing?
Yes, we talked about that here.
Did we?
Yes.
I can't remember anything.
Yeah. I think we should sing the theme song.
I literally, when I do these interviews, these episodes, listeners, I literally get home, I edit it, and I push it out of my head.
Okay, come. 1, 2, 3. Opalaca Hialeah es el lugar donde mejores precios encontrarás. Opalaca, tan, taran, Hialeah.
I don't know it in Spanish.
Opalaca Hialeah. That's like, I don't know El Padre Nuestro in Spanish.
In Spanish or in English?
In English, I mean. I don't know anything in English when it comes down to Catholicism. I don't. Because what happened was when I was about 8 or 9 years old.
But you did your entire catecismo in Spanish?
I got to that phase that a lot of kids get to. That was like, oh, I don't want to speak Spanish. Spanish sucks.
Right.
Oh, yo no quiero hablar español. And my mom's like, really? Vas a tomar el catecismo en español. So I took all of my catechism
Hasta la confirmación.
Everything in Spanish. Everything.
Wow.
So yo no me sé nada de eso en inglés. I go to English mass and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing here. I just know based on the movements, I could tell you that, okay, this is what's going to happen.
This was the first reading, so now I know this is coming.
So there's a first reading, so a second reading is coming.
And then the gospel.
So, yes. Oh, okay, now we kiss each other. No,
but the songs are different in Spanish.
La paz,
The songs in Spanish mass are different than the songs in English mass.
Like completely.
For real?
Yeah, I don't know. It's Our Father, right? I want to say, Oh Father.
No, it's not Madonna's album song.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't know nothing.
Yeah, it's Our Father and Hail Mary.
Ave Maria.
Right.
I don't know none of it.
You don't. Wow.
None of it, and I don't know in the church the terms.
Like if peace be with you.
Nothing. Nada. I don't know anything.
Hosanna in the highest.
Nothing. And then what happens that I don't really go to church that much. So most of the time when I go to church is for a wedding.
Sí, eso está fuera práctica.
Right, and usually because they're usually
Younger people.
Younger people have the mass either bilingual or in Spanish to appease the parents.
Right.
Especially not so much now that it's like second generation, but
our
but especially
generation.
like growing up.
Yes.
You know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, to appease the parents and the grandparents. So metían la misa en español.
I would,
Right?
God, let me tell you something. The amount of Spanish language weddings that I went to as a kid, because I was a ring boy for like a good 2 or 3 years.
Me too. I was a professional ring boy.
Whenever alguien se casaba, ahí iba Ismaelito with the pillow.
Yep. Yeah. Oh no, me too. Me too. Yeah. And I was really cute. I had that Joey Lawrence hair
Oh,
from the 80s.
I didn't,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
still cute.
But yeah, no, totally lost.
That's so funny. That's just something that like you have no clue.
Like how to confess in Spanish, in English. I'm like, I have no clue.
How do you confess in Spanish?
Let's see.
I know it's forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been X time. So it's perdóname, Padre, he pecado, ha sido.
See, no, the only thing I know in English is the act of contrition.
Why did I know that?
And that's because
of Madonna.
Yeah, that's why.
Right, that's
because
exactly,
it's a song.
Right, because
oh my God,
right.
my heart is Father for having a and I know it at a melody. Oh my God, my heart is sorry.
If that's
for
your
having
penance,
offended thee.
if the priest ever says that's your penance, you have to sing it because you can't say
and
it.
I confess all my sins. But other than that, because that was a song,
Wonderful.
I don't know anything else. Pero perdido, like.
I know. I want to go to church with you.
See, a couple of years ago, when my niece had her communion at St. Brendan, it was in English, and when they said "Our Father," I was like,
Just say it in Spanish.
"Well, yeah, no, but I was hard to follow along because they were going really quick."
Okay.
So
okay.
Amén.
That is wonderful.
Oh, but do you know in Spanish?
I used to know it in Spanish, and then the thing is that I did all of my catechism, CCD in English. If you say it, it rings a bell.
Do you know what's gonna blow your mind? Blow your mind. What I'm about to tell you.
What?
I find it especially funny with my mother because my mom is my mom. My mom can pray and say a lot of things in Latin.
Latin?
Yes, because in Cuba,
that's right. The
Mass was in Latin.
That's right.
And to hear my mom saying that, I'm like,
maybe your mother can decipher the Dead Sea Scrolls.
I'm like, ¿de qué tú hablas? Because my dad knew it. You know that my
That's
dad's
one
a
thing.
scholar.
Right.
I've been like, okay, but my mother.
Malo.
Am I saying anything untrue? No.
Well, I mean, I feel the need to step up for your mother.
I love my mother, but like, because in Cuba it was Latin.
That's right. The masses were in Latin.
They were in Latin, so I was like, really?
That's right. Actually, even here, hasta maybe the 50s, the masses.
Do you know what
were in Latin.
I love, and this is so, so my grandmother, que en paz descanse, my grandmother. I love to hear my aunt's story about her communion.
About your aunt's communion?
Yeah, my aunt's communion.
Okay.
My aunt, so this is my mom's sister.
Right.
My aunt, and she says it with like angst still after all, 60 years later. So my grandmother, of course, made them take a communion.
As everybody.
But my grandmother wasn't really practicing. So my grandmother didn't go to her communion.
She didn't go to the communion?
No.
So why did she have them do the communion?
Because you have una niña buena guana, tiene que go.
But your grandmother did the sacraments
I know my grandmother didn't.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, my grandmother was raised in an orphanage.
Right.
Right, and it wasn't a religious orphanage. Right. So she made she made them do
girls do it.
Yeah, and my aunt is like, yo me puse vestido, yo me peiné, yo fui a la iglesia, tomé la comunión, y después caminé para la casa sola. And I was like, and you didn't go to like a little brunch after?
Brunch ni brunch,
Un
me favor.
brindis.
See that I need to
This was BC. This was before Castro.
Yeah, this is true.
But this was in Carlos Rojas. So
it might as well have been Mesozoic.
Yes. All right, people. One day, we should have like just a segment of our show of my parents my parents and their Cuba experience, because my parents, I don't know if like I've really ever mentioned it here. So my parents are from La Provincia de Matanzas, right? So when people ask, "Oh, where's your family from?" I'm like, I'm just like Matanzas, right? But they're not from Matanzas, the city, because there's La Ciudad de Matanzas.
So it's like you're not from Miami. You're from
it's
Kendall.
like but it's like New York, right?
Right.
There's New York, the state, New York, the city, right? And the Matanzas, it's the same. Matanza la provincia, and then Matanza, the city.
Okay.
The city is a big city. No. My parents are from a little town called Carlos Roja, right? And I'll never forget, I love this moment, that some years ago, many years ago, there was somebody that Ish was with who was from Cuba, like more recent. And one time we were talking about Cuba, because he was raised in Cuba.
Right.
And we were talking about Cuba, sé qué. And I very casually, as a matter of fact, I was like, no, sí, porque mi familia es la Carlos Rojas. Because I think that he was from Matanza, the province.
Right, yes, he was from,
I think he was actually from Matanza, the city.
The city, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, sí, porque, my parents are from Carlos Roja. And he was like, wait, what? He's like, your family's from Carlos Roja? And I'm like, yeah, he's like, Carlos Roja, pero ese es un potrero ahí al lado de una calle. And I'm like, yep, that's pretty much sounds like
sounds like all the stories I've heard.
So it's funny because like when I hear of like,
I love that you had like outside confirmation.
Right, no, but I, you know what? It was kind of sort of when he said that, I'm like, oh, Carlos Roja really exists because
because maybe your parents just were telling stories,
right? Or like when you hear somebody from the outside say something that only you and your circle say, it's like, oh, this really does.
It must
exist.
be true,
right? When you hear my parent, like people's stories about Cuba, they're like, ay, porque, even if el comunismo le partió por la espalda, los partió en dos. They're like, ay, porque íbamos a discoteca, el grupo se unía.
They had fun entre lo que se
right, and whatever.
Right.
And my parents are like, no. We didn't have that in Carlos Roja. We barely had electricity and running water.
Listen, but what they had in Carlos Roja was Boney M. I don't know how, but they had Boney M because your mother is a fan.
So yeah, and then I hear stories of like things that they did. Like I'm like, they didn't have a car. They're like, no, because we went by horse. And I'm like, okay, I know things were hard and not everybody had a car, but it was like the 70s.
Right, we're not talking the 1800s.
Yes, what do you mean you went by horse? Like,
I would literally.
And Carlos Roja didn't have any like policlinico, so they had to go to the next town over.
I genuinely would love to have your parents on. I just don't know how he would trick them into doing it. Because your father would not necessarily be opposed. Your mother would not at all be open to it, right? But then also, it's not just having them on. It's pulling out like the gold. You know what I mean? Pulling out those stories.
It would have to be like a very
prompt them.
It would have to be like a very long recording that is unedited.
Right. So we'd have to talk to them for like 5 hours and then take that down to 30 minutes.
Yeah. No, I love, that's why I tell you, I'm not kidding around. The first club, and my parents got to this country when they were 33, right? So they were really young.
Right.
No, wait. My mom was 31.
Okay, so they were young.
Mom was My mom was 31 and my dad was like 34. So they were very young.
Yeah.
And and the first club they ever went to was La Copacabana that used to be in front of Versailles. Because they're like, en Cuba, en Carlos Roja, una discoteca, eso no existe. Like, in Carlos Roja, the only distraction they had was a parque. Había un parque, and that's it. And then it's funny. And it's just hilarious. It's like these stories, that I'm sure everybody, has. But there are stories, I love how I never really understood why my parents got married on one day. And my aunt and my uncle got married the next day.
Right.
And
so like your parents got married on Saturday, they got married on Sunday.
For those listeners that don't know, my mom's sister is married to my dad's brother. So my mom has a sister, my dad has a brother, and they're married.
Los hermanos casaron con los hermanos.
Right. So, and I never quite understood that because I'm like, okay, but wait, my parents got married first. They didn't go to their sister and brother's wedding. Right? Like that makes no sense. Like, why would you do that? And then you know what the reason for that is?
What?
Porque en Cuba se tenían que casar por el Palacio de los Novios, and those are the two spots they had open until the next year.
Oh shit! So it was either te casas estos días o
Or you
esperas
wait
hasta el año
another
que
year.
viene. Wowzers!
And that's why my mom and my aunt have like the same wedding dress, because the Palazzo Novio only had like 3 models. Like they only had like 3 dresses, so you picked them.
And I'm sure also it was based on what your size was.
Right.
Right. Because it wasn't even like they had multiple sizes of these
And that's
dresses.
Carlos Roja.
And that in a nutshell is Carlos
Because
Rojas.
you know what? Like, for example, we one of our very good friends, like her parents, who are, I think they're a few years older than my parents, but more or less the same age. They got married, during the Castro era.
Right.
And you see a picture of her mom at their wedding, and she had like a big wedding gown, and
Right.
something that looks okay, right? And no, not my parents, because my parents are from Carlos Roja. They didn't have paved roads. They didn't.
It happens.
Yeah.
Also, it would have hurt the horse.
Remember the paved roads?
Yeah, the paved roads.
Yeah,
would
they
have
didn't
hurt.
have paved roads. Yeah. But I love that, like, where they're from, the neighboring town, which was, I think it was much bigger, much more cosmopolitan. It had like 1,000 more people.
Okay. Ooh, big city.
When people are like, Jovellano, hay una factoría de pasta de diente. That's what everybody says. Sí, porque en Jovellano hay una factoría de pasta de diente.
Listen, even in the face of communism, you can never lose the war on plaque.
But I love it. Like, I love it. I've told you this a million times. My parents, based on what they were to grow up, where they grew up, I mean, there's no reason why they would have read and been able to read and write.
This is true. Yeah, based on the stories.
But yet, they did. My parents are not guajiros. My parents
Not.
are
And
actually.
Oh yeah, you know what? Actually, that's true. For all things considered,
My parents aren't. They've never been guajiros. They're
all
very
things
modern.
considered, they should be right.
They
Like,
they have every reason to
right,
be.
right.
Right. But no, they're not. Thank God.
Thank God. Not good. Menos mal.
But one day, yeah, we should have like the Carlos Roja edition. Because I always say, you think your parents' stories about Cuba are interesting and odd? Wait till you hear mine.
Oh, your parent. It's like some weird version of MTV's Diary.
Yeah.
You think you know Cuba? You have no idea. This is the diary.
One of my favorite stories was because my mom says 2 things about Carlos Roja. Pueblo pequeño, infierno grande. But that's a saying that everybody uses. But my mom has always said, Carlos Roja es el culo del mundo. The butthole of the earth. My favorite story about like my mom growing up in Carlos Roja was, and this is when she was already married.
So
she was in her 20s.
Right, she was a lady.
Right? The neighbor that would come and knock on their window and be like, hoy es las 8 de la mañana, esta no son horas de estar durmiendo. And my mom's like, it's 8 o'clock.
Was this the same neighbor who questioned why she was no longer wearing black?
Yes.
After her father passed away?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And you know what's great? No, actually, no, I can't say it because this is recorded.
Oh, so you'll just have to wonder what it was,
That
ladies
neighbor,
and gentlemen.
That neighbor, her daughter is in my life, so I can't.
Oh, okay, got it. So there's we'll just move along to the last soda.
We'll move along to the last soda.
Yes. All
Our
right.
soda goes to Carlos Roja. They need a lot of refreshment.
Clearly, they're lacking in paved roads. There's potreros.
Un potrero. That's such a great word.
That is a great word.
That's your Cuban word of the day.
Yes.
Potrero.
It just sounds like what it is.
Un potrero.
Potrero. Like when you say,
It's like an onomatopoeia.
almost. It might as well be.
It's like buzz.
It might as well be buzz or eek.
Wait, I never think of eek when I think of onomatopoeia.
Well, yeah, it's spelled how it sounds.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. What's your soda?
So I'm actually gonna give a flat soda.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna give a flat soda to Azalea Banks.
Oh really?
Yes. Excuse me. So last weekend was Wynwood Pride, and we went because for some reason Jose wanted to go see Azalea Banks. Fine.
Of course, Jose wants to see.
Of course, he wants to see Azalea Banks. Fine, we'll go see Azalea Banks. Whatever. So according to the schedule, Azalea Banks was going to come out at midnight. No big deal. Whatever. You know how it is. The headliner says a time. Usually it's about 20 minutes late.
Azalea, prepárate.
It's usually a little late. Whatever. No big deal, right? So, las 12. Las 12:30.
Was she building a Madonna?
La 1.
Oh.
La 1:30. A las 2:15, I told Jose, and I'm like, listen,
Guess what?
We've been here a while because we came earlier. You know, we enjoyed all the other acts and festival activities or whatever. You know, she is not 2.5 hours late famous. There's certain levels of fame, you know. Even when Madonna is 2 hours late, 9 times out of 10 it's because she's filming it, and so, you know, maybe there's a technical glitch. I don't know. All right. So Jose was like, "Yeah, whatever. Let's just dip because this is ridiculous." She finally went on stage at 3 a.m.
What up?
Mind you, the festival ended at 3 a.m. So basically, she went on. According to, there's video online, she looked like she was out of it. I don't know if she was drunk, drugged, or what have you, but she looked like she was out of it. She basically did like 3 songs ahí malamente, and she left the stage because she started saying that, you know, she wasn't happy to be there. She wasn't enjoying herself, and she kind of went on. She started to go on a little tirade, and they cut her mic.
Oh, really?
And then, you know,
did you see it?
No, we were home by then. But I was.
No, but did you?
Yes. I've subsequently seen it. Yeah.
But she wasn't happy to be there because the crowd was like over it.
Well, because people were booing her at that point.
Good.
Well done. And she was saying how, like, no, because it's the reason she's late is because it's the festival people, and they told her one time and then it's another. And
you know what? That's bullshit, because I doubt any festival will tell you that your time is 3 a.m.
Right. Not just that. If that was something that, like, maybe Kylie Minogue had said, I'd be like, you know what? Kylie's pretty punctual. Azalea Banks is not known for being a professional.
Yeah.
You know, she, like, whenever people talk about Azalea Banks, it's never followed by, oh, she was such a joy to work with, you know, and such a pleasant human being, right? So, you know what, Azalea, as it is, you're not exactly, even though you claim to be bisexual, I think, or whatever, you're transphobic, I don't even know why the hell they hired her.
Why is she transphobic? I actually
she's made anti-trans statements. She's, you know, she it's funny because then they hire her to play at a Pride Fest. So I have no idea what the hell was going on there. But I will say this in general, you know, the festival itself was great. It was the first time back after COVID to that level. Everything was fantastic, but it was just sad that first night, you know, the topper was such a sour moment because of somebody who, quite frankly, keeps getting more chances left and right, and I don't know that she necessarily deserves it. So, gasless soda to Azalea Banks.
I have mixed feelings about her because I like some of her music. I actually think, music-wise, she's extremely talented. I just feel that I see her a lot, especially when she's been on The Breakfast Club on, you know, the show I love.
Show.
And she's one of these people that there's things that she says that obviously I agree with, but I think she's one of these people that sometimes talks out of her ass because she knows she's going to get a lot of attention. Right?
Free press,
and you know, being controversial for the sake of being controversial is bullshit. Right? So yeah, like that whole bullshit that she was late. I mean, if you were late and it was your fault, just don't say anything. Try to be, you know what? If you go
apologize.
If you go up there at 3 a.m., you know, she doesn't even have to have this like long, heartfelt apology. She'll just be like, "Hey guys, so sorry to keep you waiting, but we're gonna have a great time tonight."
Acknowledge it and move on.
And I bet you that people will like be like, "Yeah, you know, whatever." That's it. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Right. But that whole, you know, tirade that you're explaining that she did, that's very on brand, on character with her.
Right.
And she's very, I mean, her insurance to perform must be very high because she's very much like a loose cannon.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. She is.
She actually lives here now in Miami.
She is. And look, it's very frustrating. I think I've said it. There was some years ago, actually it was 10 years ago, that we went to see Madonna, and
was it Sticky and Sweet? No,
it was MDNA. And I lived across the street, so
Jose was at that.
I literally had to cross the street to go see her, and so I didn't have to drive home. And of course, the ticket said 8:00.
Right.
And 8:00 rolled around, 9:00 rolled around, 10:00 rolled around, 11:00 rolled around, 12:00 rolled around. She didn't get on stage until like 12:30. Now, granted, they did film the DVD that day,
right?
But she is notoriously known for being late.
Right.
But even though midnight is extremely late, y es una falta de respeto,
Right.
3 a.m. is like that's even another level.
Yeah, that's another level. Yeah,
Like, this time, come out on the Today Show in the morning.
have a brunch.
Yes. Like,
Host a drag brunch. At that
mornings
point.
with Azalea Banks,
I do not want to spend my morning. She is not a morning person, I'm sure.
So I know how upsetting that can be. But yeah, then to like be upset that people are booing you.
Right.
It's like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
So. Well, actually, I'm going to give my last soda. It's going to be a very general last soda to no one in specific. But I do want to give my last soda to our listeners who go join us in trivia.
Oh,
I thought about this last week. For those of you who haven't joined us who are local, you should. We, as you know, Pero Let Me Tell You has been hosting trivia at Beat Culture Brewery for probably like a year now.
Give or take.
Right? A year
consistently now. This year, because this year we were like every third Wednesday of the month. We're like, una fecha fija.
Yes, but we were definitely doing it last year because I remember, after what happened in the summer that I missed a few of them.
Yeah, it kept going, yeah.
Right, and we had already done several at
That's
that point.
true.
So we've been doing it for over a year. And it was one of those things, as we always say, we're trying to make trivia happen in Miami. And at first we were like, oh my God, can we pull this off? Like, nobody's going to come to this. And the first few trivias, like our friends and family
It was our friends,
came,
yeah.
And there was a bit of a turnout, but then they obviously had their lives to live. And then there was like a period there that it was like 4 people. And we're like, well, this
is
went
kind
as
of
far
petering
as
out,
it could. But then we kept going, and people started coming, and we have regulars now. And we sometimes have a packed house. So, thank you if to our listeners that go to trivia. Thank you for making trivia happen. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's us, but live and in person.
Having questions.
Right.
And you do win something.
And prizes.
And there are prizes involved. What's better than us and prizes?
It's like if Wheel of Fortune let Vanna, not just touch the thing.
Wow. Don't you think there's so much lying under Vanna White? Well, we've seen it on Playboy. Like, was she posed for Playboy? Was it completely nude?
I don't remember.
This was like in the 80s, and I asked you like if you would have seen it, as an
at the age of like 7. Yeah.
I know she does yarn now.
Yes, that's quite a shift.
Right.
Yes.
It's like that really is the world's greatest job.
She recently, Emma. Now after this, I'm gonna find it on Paramount Plus. She did an episode of Drag Race.
Oh yeah.
Where they told the drag queens that the category was Vanna White realness. But they didn't tell them that Vanna was going to be there. So Vanna White was literally standing on the side of the stage, and when they would come out, she'd be like, "And here comes Roja," or whatever. And you could see them all coming out and being extremely surprised that Vanna White is there.
They're on the runway, and they look to them like, "It's Vanna White."
It's Vanna White. And there's someone who, God bless her, she's had one job.
Yeah. And
But
she's consistent.
She's so. She even had to host recently because
Pat was out.
Pat was out.
So who was turning the letters?
I don't know. Maybe she had a little earpiece and she was hosting from the board.
Yeah, or they were digital. She'll just point, bing, bing, bing. Wheel of Fortune. I'm so bad at it.
But you're great at Jeopardy.
I'm great at Jeopardy.
Sure.
Jeopardy all day, every day. Wheel of Fortune. I told you a few years ago it was a couple, and the answer was Will and Jada Smith.
Right.
And I think that the I was missing, and I'm like, I have no clue what it is. It could be Martha and George Washington for all I know. I remember thinking I'm so bad at this. Why? I'm an intelligent person. I have multiple college degrees.
I can't.
Why? How? And it's yeah.
We all have our things. We can't be good at everything.
RSTLE.
We can't be good at everything.
I know that. RSTLE. Those are when you go to the end of Wheel of Fortune,
okay.
They give you those letters, RSTLE, and then you have to be like, S.
If there's an S, I can probably figure it out. I don't know why. S's help me.
What letters don't help you? Like a T?
A T. Oh, a K.
A K, yeah.
Is it silent? Is it not? I don't know.
Yeah.
An S is always an S.
Yes. Okay, well, on that note, everybody, we hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Father's Day. Everybody have a great
You
weekend.
guys have a great weekend. Don't forget, Pim Pam Pollo, June 18th. Bye.
Bye.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lamleplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.